I just want to officially welcome everybody to the Sydney Hills Business Chamber's general meeting. We have several general meetings a year, and that includes our AGM, which is at the end of the year in December. The AGM is usually conducted with our breakfast event. So you'll see that's actually on the calendar, and that's a point in time where we have to do all the official voting in of our executive team. And we obviously talk about what's happened with regard to audits and anything that is a wrap up for the year. But this is kind of our half year point where we want to give everyone a bit of an update on what's been happening and what our key strategies are. Obviously, this is another challenging year for businesses, and just like any business, the Chamber has also had to pivot and change and adapt so that we can keep providing services and supporting our members during this time. So I'm going to give a bit of an update on some of the things we've been doing with respect to that as a part of today's session. Just would like to give a few apologies. A couple of our board members aren't able to join us today, so you'll see as we roll through, I'll mention the apologies at that point in time as I deliver their reports for them. They, like yourselves, are busy juggling their clients and their client work to help them. So I just wanted to also acknowledge some of our previous chairs. So that's John Mason and Sonia Palich is our, hi Sonia, is our immediate past chair joining us today, and a couple of our board members who are in the room today, and some of our project officers, which includes George Hauer, Farid, Zaki, Richard Nassif, and Richard, who is our membership manager. So I'm going to share my screen and take you through our update for this part of the year. So I'll just flick to that, and if you could confirm for me with a bit of a nod or a wave that you can see the screen as it comes up. All good. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure my sound is up enough. Everyone can hear me. All right, so today's general meeting, we're going to cover a couple of things, and I really wanted to touch on some of the key strategic plans that we're focused on delivering this year, and we're focused on delivering these regardless of COVID and lockdown, because they are still universally true and required for us to grow as a chamber. So the very first thing that we're focused on is membership growth, and not just growth for the sake of growth, but making sure that the kind of businesses that become a part of the chamber are businesses that add value to other existing members. So a part of our targeting strategy this year is looking at who our members are and who they want to do business with, so that we're focused on bringing on board new members who are going to add value to the overall chamber and its activities and all of our existing members as well. And then obviously our existing members can add value to those businesses too. So the good news is that we're still averaging around about 6 new members a month, regardless of the fact that we're all in lockdown. So people are still seeing that there's value in being part of a business community like ours. Richard's done an amazing job. We've had 62 new members since the 1st of January this year, and that is on target for what we were hoping to achieve. The great part of that is that we're actually retaining the vast majority of our members. Very few members have left us over this last 6 months, and those that have done so for various different reasons, but mostly it's to do with their own business and where it's at and where its focus is, rather than a disappointment that we're not delivering for them, which I think is really good news. Other focus is around partnering, and this is about growing the types of services and benefits available to our members, and that's done through our sponsorship program, which was a new program we started at the start of this year, improving all our partnership programs, and that you'll see when we talk about some of our partnerships, what we've done there. And there is a new alliances program, which is where we're partnering with other membership organisations like industry associations, so that we can create even more benefit to our members through their programs and supporting each other through our different membership models. The third one is around retaining our members, and that's about creating diversified benefits and services, deeper engagement of our members in our activities and our programs, and even in the leadership aspects of our chamber. You'll see through some of our working groups this year, and also just increasing our value to the member businesses and what we help them to do in their own organisations. And the last bit, which is really important to growth, is around laying the right foundation. So this is where our board have worked very hard on improving the processes and policies that the chamber uses to run. We've been expanding our leadership teams so that we can have more people doing more of the work instead of a small group trying to do everything. We've implemented comprehensive budgeting processes, which really helps us to be able to forecast and make good decisions. And then we're really focused on creating better systems, and that includes technology and the use of it, so that we're using data to drive the decisions that we're making for growth for the chamber, and also the type of services we deliver for members, so that we understand that they are relevant. So I'm just going to quickly cover off a little bit of an update from our public officer, Lielette, who is an apology from today. Lielette has spent quite a bit of time working on creating a comprehensive budgeting process in the first quarter of this year, and we've been rolling with that since and continuing to tweak that, and that's been incredibly helpful for us to have a clear understanding of, you know, where we're going to spend money, why, and then being able to measure that against our actuals. That's really important for us going forward as an organisation. Just like any business, we need to have that information. Our ability to forecast also helps us to assess, if we're going to implement something new, is it going to get a good return on investment, not just of our time and money, but on the outcomes that members are going to get from participating, and what should those outcomes look like. All of our ASIC and ATO obligations are up to date, and John and the quality team completed our ISO audit for the year, and we've been again awarded our ISO 9001 compliance, which means we're the only chamber, I think, in Australia who have an ISO accreditation as a part of our chamber, which is because we want to be seen as a professional body and encouraging our members to be professional too. Farid, I know you're in the room, so if you could unmute yourself, maybe take us through the Treasurer's report, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Gary. So basically, this is as at the end of June 2021. We had 126,261 in the bank. We had total assets of 168,386, and included in it is debtors of 38,975, and our total liabilities was 33,745. Our total income for the year was 274,352, and our surplus was 43,379. Included in that surplus, we have received 10,000 for the cash flow boost stimulus payment and JobKeeper of 25,900. We finalized the financials for the end of June, and we are going to be submitting that to our team at the Findex, where they are going to do, they are our accountants and auditors, to review that, and then basically submit that to fair trading, as well as lodging that for the annual general meeting, which will be in December. So we've been working with our bookkeeping partners, all the accounts, Lielette and her team, and Findex, which are our accountants, external accountants and auditors. Happy to take any questions. Try to summarize it as little as possible.
So I am going to just allow anyone who may have specific questions around our budget to unmute themselves and ask those questions if you have any. I'm going to take that as a no.
Are you comfortable, Farid, with those numbers? And obviously, putting COVID aside, and once we get out of this, how? And congratulations, it's great to see money in the bank, well done. What are you going to touch on what our plans are for events going forward, and obviously where does this profit sit in regards to those future events, and is it put aside for anything specific?
So I'm just going to touch on that for a second, Farid. One of the key activities that we did over this last, well, probably 9 months would be, from late last year, is we focused on diversifying where our income comes from. Now, a lot of chambers, and including ourselves, have a lot of income in the past that comes purely from events. And of course, the danger of that in a COVID situation is that if all of your income, or a good portion of it's coming from events, then it's in jeopardy, because you can't run events. And even if you do run events and they're online, you can't charge $50, $60 for someone to attend an event, no matter how much value there is, because they simply don't have it to spend. and you want more people to be participating rather than less in these kind of situations. So we actually diversified our income streams significantly over the last 9 months so that events are no longer the primary income source for us. They are part of it, but not a significant part of it. The other thing that has held very strong, and this is why making sure that we have diversified benefits and value being added to members beyond just showing up to an event through things like My Board and other activities, is that we've still continued to retain the vast majority of our members and have continued to renew. Very few do not renew at this point in time. And also we've brought on a lot of new members as well. So our membership income has stayed steady. We're pretty comfortable with these numbers because what we've looked at is everywhere where we would normally spend money that we can't, for example, events or event management and other things, you know, we've budgeted for those to happen, but if they're not happening, we're not paying for them. So we've kept all the costs incredibly low and very tight. But also as we've pivoted, we're focusing on making sure that we're still making profit along the way and that we've got a bit of a buffer. And we have a staff member that we need to pay. You know, Richard's job is incredibly important to the chamber. So having that security net to make sure that we can meet our requirements and obviously retain our staff is very important in this. Farid, is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, so that's perfect what you said. I think just to answer Bill's point, realistically, some of the events that we had to do in the past as well, some of them were actually, to run an event, sometimes it was actually costing a little bit more than what we were actually making out of an event, because realistically we could only charge a certain amount. So some of the events that we had in the past were actually running at a little bit of a loss. So realistically, some of those events were actually subsidizing by the government. By the other funds that we raised through sponsorships and things like that. But going forward, yes, like Carrie said, with all the budgeting that we are doing, trying to put the plans into things so that we can raise enough funds to take us to the next level.
Thanks, guys. Well done.
And I would also just add that this is not something new. This is something because the Chamber faced similar challenges in 2020, the board at that time implemented some, you know, drastic measures to make sure that going into this year, we were already in a secure position. So what we've been doing is adding to that as well. So it's not a situation where all of a sudden we're going, oh my gosh, now we've got to change. What are we going to do about income? This has been a process over probably the last 2 to 3 years of shifting to ensure that we were very secure and profitable so that we could actually grow as well as meet our commitments regardless of the situation. Was there any other questions before we move through the next stage? If there's anything towards the end, we can always take questions a little bit later as well if anything comes, so don't feel like you missed your chance. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about administration. So it's something which we don't talk a lot about as a chamber, but the reality is when you have over 400 members and there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of processes and programs, and we're continuing to do more and more, there's a lot of administration, just like any business, to keep the wheels moving. And so I just wanted to highlight what some of the things are that happen on a day-to-day basis that we use our administration processes for. Amanda is our administration support person, so thanks Amanda for the good work that you do. But basically, you know, this includes things like managing a calendar of events. We have over 22 events a year that happen, so that's quite a lot of events, updates, and of course in a pivoting, changing situation, there's always updates that have to occur, making sure that people are looked after with event registrations, cancellations, credits, people moving and shifting around. Managing our database. Now, our database isn't just 400. Our database is more along the lines of about 3,000, of which there are different ways that people interact with us. So keeping that piece of information up to date is really quite important. We've also got a lot of correspondence that comes in, whether that's phone calls and inquiries, emails and requests, people having, you know, issue using a system that they need some help with. And then from just running meetings like this, you know, supporting myself and the rest of the board members and their portfolios. So there's quite a few moving parts. And one of the things that we're focused on doing in this next quarter and the next half of the year is changing some of the administrative systems that we use to automate and to improve that, and also make sure that we're removing double entry in some cases, or just improving workflows. So you will see a few things change over this period of time, and we're going to be continuously improving on that. Nathan, has Nathan joined us? I can't see who's in the room at the moment. No, I'll just cover off our partnerships then. So it's an apology from Sara and from Nathan today, but partnerships went through a bit of an overhaul at the start of this year, and they are really important to our organisation. So the way that partnerships work is it's an exchange of someone's expertise, their product, their service, which is a core need of us as a business chamber to be able to function and deliver benefits. And in exchange for that, that partner is then promoted throughout the year, and there's a dollar figure value attached to what they deliver for us. And we have quite a number of partners who deliver lots of different things like HR, legal, all those kinds of things that we need as core services. And then there are some program-based partnerships, and these are related to things like our education portfolio, where we have workshops that are delivered by presenters who are acting as partners continuously throughout the year to deliver a series of workshops. We also have sponsors, and so our partnerships team work with our partners, they work with our sponsors, and they'll be working with alliance partners as they come on board over the next couple of quarters, just to make sure that they understand what they need to do, that they have the right information, that they are being looked after, things that the benefits that they have available to them can be accessed and that they're leveraging, and that the operations of the chamber run smoothly and everything works well from a relationship point of view with those partnerships. So our members can become partners or sponsors with us at any point in time. And so if it's something you'd like to know more about, that I encourage you to touch base with Richard to talk about that, because each year we review all our partnerships and all of our sponsorships. They go usually for either sort of 12 to 24 months, depending on what the nature of that partnership or that sponsorship is. But we're always looking for ways that we can expand on what we're doing. So if you'd like to become more involved or to find out more about that, please do have a chat to Richard or touch base with Sara and Nathan at any of our events or via email. So Richard, do you want to just give us a quick overview of what's been happening with our member connection and engagement, particularly around our info sessions, some of our new member onboarding process, and the check-in process you're doing with members to see how they're going?
Yeah, cool. Thanks. We changed things up last year, and we've changed them up again this year. All of our info sessions we do them on the. We've now just changed that again. Actually, we now do those on the first Wednesday of every month. We get a mixture of, sometimes our existing members come into that. That's normally a smaller percentage, but normally lots of new or potential new people to networking for the first time, just wanting to find out what's going on. So it's a great way to hear what the chamber is in a broad brush, so you can work out what your next step's going to be. We pretty much cover everything uphill, down dale in a bit of an hour, and we have a good 15 minutes of Q&A at the end of it, so that people can really throw their questions one by one at me. So that's actually been a really good change. We're actually getting less numbers to the info sessions now, but our conversion rate is much higher because the people coming along are really serious about being involved. And I think the two key messages that have come out of everything we did last year and this year in those conversations is business owners and people being having the ability to stay connected to other people in the business community, and when they involve themselves in some of our programs around being supported in their business. And they're the two key things that resonate over and over again with people in those sessions. Our new member onboarding process really changed a lot last year, and it's taken up another level this year again. So now when someone joins, I'm pretty much onto them on the phone that day, sometimes within hours, even minutes. We're running through with them what's actually going to happen in the next week. We'll book in a whole new member Zoom meeting with them for an hour, just so we can one-on-one have a strategy session with them about their membership. And I'll just pause that as well. For every single member of the chamber, who is renewing as well, and any member who is in this room at the minute. If you'd like to do that for your business, send me an email to the membership@sydneyhillsbusiness.com.au, and I'll invest an hour in any one of our members. And that's really resonating. I had one the other week with Bill, and we had, Bill went, "Oh yeah, I think I know a fair bit of this." I said, "Come with me, mate. It'll be worthwhile." And there was a whole pile of things that were a little bit more illuminating to Bill, even though we've known each other for just about 15 years. So it applies to everyone to take advantage of that. We then book them into their new member workshop as well. We make sure they're getting all their communications. So basically, we're taking away all of the issues that potentially means that they could not engage with us when they first come on board. Even a simple thing like they haven't worked out how to get their login and password moving. So we actually spend quite a bit of time in that hour focusing on key bits and ways they can actually promote themselves online at the moment, which is really important. And that member check-in, that's just ongoing. You know, anytime I get a phone call, an email, any sort of a text message from any of our members, I'm going, "Hey, would you like to catch up?" Beyond what's happening in their renewal cycle. So it's pretty much holistic, whether you're a new member, a brand new member, 12 months, 15 years, doesn't matter. We're trying to look after the entire flock in this period.
Great, thanks, Richard. So I just want to touch on a couple of things that sort of roll from that. Is that when members come on board, we then are obviously encouraging them to participate in lots of different types of programs and activities that the Chamber has. So just a bit of an update on what's been happening in our member experiences. So we've actually planned this year knowing that we would probably have to pivot some events to online format. It's just, you know, you can expect that with COVID, it was going to happen at some point. And we expect that next year at some point, there may also be some lockdowns here and there, and that we're going to have to pivot events when that happens. So as a part of our strategy, we've expected a bit of a plan A and a plan B situation to occur. At the very beginning of the year, we locked all our events in, and we had been averaging around about 50 to 80 people attending, both a combination of members and non-members. And we managed to squeeze in the very last event, I think in the state, probably on the lockdown day in June, at the end of June, with a fantastic event that we had, where even though it was announced we were all going to lock down sort of from that night, we still had 50 people attend who actually had a cracking event together, and I think just really enjoyed being in the room together. We've done some online events. We're still getting around about 50 people or more to our online events. We did one about a week or so ago, which was our Christmas in July event, which was a lot of fun. We just decided to make that social with trivia and a lot of silliness, and it was actually really nice to be just in a room, even if it was virtually together. So over the next couple of months, throughout August, throughout September, all the events will go online, and we'll be doing some updates to some of the events in September over the next week to make sure that they're updated on our calendar. But the reality is, I think we can all pretty much assume nobody's going to be allowed to sit in a room with 50, 60, 100 people until at least October. So we're making that assumption and making sure our events are going to be just as fantastic as if you were sitting there in person with someone. Our connector program continues. So throughout our live events, we of course had our connectors working, and we've had our connector sponsors this year, which are the Think, our emerging leaders and elite importers, who are our sponsor for the connectors activity. So even if we've got our online events, each of our breakout rooms have facilitators and connectors who are there making sure that people are able to network and learn and be able to interact with each other so that they get value from participation. We've managed to squeeze a couple of golf days in for the year, and we'll have a few more later on in the year, which will go ahead as soon as the tougher restrictions have been released. Golf is one of the things that you're allowed to do before apparently going and getting a coffee in a cafe. So we'll definitely have those activated again. And we've got a sponsor lined up who'll be covering us going into the new year for our golf days, which will be really quite fun and exciting as well. We introduced at the start of this year our Chairman's Coffee Catch-Up, which is on the third Monday of the month. And it was designed deliberately for people who are a little bit gun shy of getting in a room with 50, 60 people, or are new members and are just wanting a bit of a soft entry into getting to know some of the members. And we've been averaging sort of half a dozen to a dozen people at that, and they've been great. They've just been a cup of coffee at the Fiddler at Rouse Hill for an hour or so, where we get to know each other. And we've got a lot of people who are coming back month on month, enjoying just that small format networking. So that will continue as soon as we're allowed to have them, right through into next year as well. I'm really happy to see that our Chairman's Lunch, which was our first big format event in April, which was just after our last general meeting, was sold out. We had a wait list on that event. We ended up with 225, which was the capacity for the Lyceum Theatre at Castle Hill. And we had 6 state leaders. It was a really great event, but the thing that really impressed me the most was the fact that people were just enjoying being in the room and networking together, and there was a really lovely feel to it beyond some really great speaking on the day. So I'm looking forward to some of our other bigger format events that we'll do. We usually have a couple of those a year, and getting bigger groups of people together when we're all allowed to do so again. One of the things that Richard and I have been working on together as a part of how we increase the value that we bring to different types of member businesses, because we have lots of businesses who are of different sizes and industries, is industry specific and industry cluster programs. And this has already been begun over the last couple of years with our CEO lunches, which includes our building construction and the medical healthcare. Some of you may have attended those over the last couple of years. Expanding on that, we're identifying within our membership and of course the greater business community around us, some key industry clusters that we want to start getting cohorts together on a more regular basis to build relationships. And we've been exploring that over the last 6 months, and that includes some of the alliances that we're in the process of creating with some of the industry sectors. And the example of some of the ones we're looking at going into the back end of this year and early next year will be the building construction and trade, our financial services, retail and hospitality, and our medical and healthcare. And there'll probably be a few others over the next year or two as well. So if you fall into any of those industries, or you have clients or colleagues who are in those you think might be interested, then let us know, because we have already got, I think, Richard, about 100 or so just in building construction that would make up that cluster. Is that about right?
Yeah, we're fairly close to that. We'd be probably around 60 who are currently members of ours, and there's at least probably 25 prospects that I've got that we've been working on since early March this year, from right across Sydney, who are really interested in that first one for building construction.
Yeah. So the idea is that we have our CEO lunches, which might be sort of a once a year big format event where you've got a few hundred people in the room, which is a general. Not just specific to that cohort, but that on a regular basis, even if it's once a quarter, people who are in that industry cluster are getting together, and there's a topic that they may be talking about or exploring together as different types of businesses in that sector. So we expect that when you talk about there being 27,500 businesses in the Hills local government area, not all 27,000 are going to become our members, and it's unrealistic to think that they will. But if we can get a really big portion of those participating and engaging in activities of the chamber, as well as being members where it's appropriate for them and their business to do so, that provides a huge opportunity for our members and also for the business community as a whole, which is the goal over the next few years. So you'll see that some of the information we've been putting out through our emails and things you've seen from me are really pushing you to engage with and activate as many of your benefits as you possibly can. And that has actually been a plan right from the start of this year, COVID or no COVID. We want to make sure that members are aware of and using and leveraging everything we can offer them to the best possible ability that they can. So there's a few things which are in development that we're reviewing and that we're coming up with solutions for to provide even more benefit. One is around our payment options. We do have 2 payment options at the moment, but we are going to change one of those so that it actually works in a more practical way and it's more automated. With some of our new systems, it'll create the opportunity for really easy renewal processes. You'll see some bonus benefits are going to be starting to roll out over the next couple of months that are delivered by some of our partner organisations. A member directory is something that we're tinkering with at the moment to see how we can provide additional value to our members about how they can use the member directory beyond even its current capabilities. But if you haven't updated your details on the member directory, I do encourage you to go and do that this week. And then we've just introduced and launched our social media package. And this is leveraging the huge amount of work that's been done by our marketing team to increase the number of people who are actively engaging with us on social media as a chamber, so that you can leverage that to promote your business. So if you haven't gone online to our website and checked out that social media package, it is only available to member organisations to be able to leverage our reach. So if you want to check that out and find out more, there is a page on our website now about that. I'm going to get George to talk a little bit about our marketing and what we've been doing in that space. George, are you online still?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Kerry. I mean, and this is a good segue also from Richard's segment and member experiences. I think, you know, with the changes in events and so on, we've had to also change in terms of changing tact with the marketing administration as well, and just align with that focus. And this is very much a team effort from everyone in the chamber, on the board, Kerry especially, and others, where we've had to come together and really align with new directions with events and all the changes. So look, there was a 90-day marketing process put in at the start of the year, and that's all being executed and running well. I'd say at about 90%. Working with the website as well, that was successfully implemented by the team at Design Plus, and with Kerry and the board working with them. So now the next steps now is to implement intelligent marketing practices and what is really best practice across digital marketing into the chamber's own marketing. And that's where we're going to really take the chamber to the next level in terms of its communication capacity. We really want to make sure we align with all marketing stakeholders and streamlining resources, and that includes that intelligent marketing piece. And what I mean by that is more processes where we can understand the touch point significance of people coming through, whether it be the website or email or social media or any other channels, events and so on, and being able to then orchestrate some sort of value relationship around all that, which is very important to building the chamber to where it needs to go. Also, yes, the working with aligning and releasing the social media packages for members to utilize as well. In terms of its own performance, the chamber's own performance on social media, the social media database for the chamber is very strong. It's probably the strongest I've seen in terms of any industry or not-for-profit group out there, sitting around 50,000 in the social media backend. Now, what they are is actual ID numbers of every individual that's engaged with the chamber at some level, whether it's watching a video for 3 seconds on Facebook or Instagram, or clicking on a post, or landing on the profile page, or you know, clicking on an ad. So we've got about 50,000 people sitting there. And this database is also now being turned into something that the chamber can then offer to its members, for the members to reach out to as well. These are people who are already engaged with the chamber, and that's what these social media packages are about that Kerry just mentioned, which gives the ability for members to also touch base with people who are already warm with this network. Total impressions across social media in the last 3 months have been 238,500 roundabouts, which is 5% up on the previous quarter. We're seeing these numbers now mature across, especially social media, as we're starting to now have implemented a really mature social media campaign for at least 12 months plus. These impression numbers and so on are starting to mature within our demographic that we're targeting. So they're all looking really strong, and the future for the marketing plans is looking exciting as well. I'm very lucky to have a great project team on board with a few people there, Lee, Morgan and Diana Rosidi, helping me out with the marketing. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Thanks, George. And I just want to acknowledge that Malfa Norwest actually is our sponsor for our e-news. So you'll see our EDMs that go out, which is our mails that come out to you. You'll see their information on that, and that's because they've actually sponsored that program as a way to support the chamber and its growth this year. So when we hark back to the conversation around, you know, who's come on board as sponsors, they're one of the organisations that's been supporting us over the last couple of years to help us to grow. Just further on marketing and communication, the focus for us is really around making sure that our members are aware of your benefits, that we're keeping our messages very simple and targeted, that we're increasing the transparency to you as members about what we're doing, what we're working on, how you can get involved, that we're providing a regular e-news, and there's and the other part of that you'll start seeing roll out is our Meet the Members program, which is continuing to develop. And the goal of that is to provide more visibility of our members to each other and to our greater database and networks. So there'll be lots of different ways that we'll do that over this next year. We've just begun rolling out with our partners in focus, which you've probably seen come out on your emails, where we're sharing videos of 3 partners that we had done each month. And then for all the rest of our members, there'll be a whole range of activities that'll happen probably in Q4 this year, as we're working on them at the moment to make them accessible for everybody. And as soon as that's ready, we'll release that to you as well. And the other thing we're looking at is the better use of groups and forums. So we have a Facebook page currently, and we also have a LinkedIn group. And if you haven't got onto the LinkedIn group, please do, because it's a really great opportunity to connect not just with our members, but with a much bigger audience. There's about 1,400 people who are in that group that include members and non-member organisations. So if you haven't looked at that one, jump onto LinkedIn and look for Sydney Hills Business Chambers group, and Richard is our moderator for that group. So I'm just going to touch on our MyCommunity portfolio. So MyCommunity is a really important part of what we do as a chamber. This is about connecting members in a more intimate and deeper way than just showing up at an event. They include our My Board, our new My Enterprise and My Corporate groups, and our Yohu groups. So the key activities that have been worked on by John and Richard, Dave Kashan and Cameron in these teams is around My Enterprise. We launched our My Enterprise, our first team, which is for businesses that have 15 plus employees, usually around that 10 to sort of around the 25 mark. The first team's launched and it's now already full. There's been a huge demand for it. And so we're now in the process of getting the second team together, because we've got a lot of people waitlisted for that. So we'll probably see that launch over the next month or so. We're just making sure we've got all the right leaders in place so that it can launch and on the right day. So I'm really happy that that's growing. I expect that will continue to grow over the next 6 months to multiple teams in that space. Our My Corporates are doing well. There's 2 teams which are going, and we'll probably have a third one that we'll need because we've got a wait list for that one as well. So that's going really well. They're generally larger organisations who have 20, 50, 100 staff or more. So they are obviously talking about things that are a little bit different to what we're talking about at a My Board level, which is for our micro businesses. The My Board groups, they continue to go really strong in this period of time when we can't physically get together, when a lot of businesses are under stress. The My Board groups are really acting as an important sounding board and support mechanism for all the businesses who are out there. And I get feedback on some of the conversations that are happening in those groups. And some of those conversations are really important just from a mental health point of view for the people who are connecting with each other. And they happen from a My Board point of view every second week. At the moment, they're all on Zoom. Some of those groups are permanently on Zoom, and others, when we're allowed to all meet together, are in a hybrid format. So they have 1 week where they meet and another week where they're all on Zoom. Yohu is something which is continuing in its redevelopment phase, and you'll see over the next month or so probably some online format events. If you know someone who is in that 17 to 35 age group, who is a young, business professional, they might be a young business owner, someone who's doing uni, or really needs to be working with a cohort of young people who are encouraging each other as professionals, Yohu's a really great opportunity for them. So please send them to the Yohu team to connect and collaborate with. An update from education from Rebecca. Our successful networking workshops are split into 2 parts, the first and the second. The first is really around how you network, and what we've done is we've pivoted our workshops so that right now they're focusing on how do you network effectively and connect effectively when you're doing it via Zoom or in an online format or through LinkedIn or places like that. That's usually part of the script anyway of that particular session, but we've obviously focused more on that at the moment. And it's great for any of our new members. Richard mentioned that he books people into their workshops as a part of the onboarding process. Those successful networking workshops are the ones he's talking about. So that's a really important part of helping you as a member to learn how to get the best out of connecting with other people in the culture of our chamber. If you haven't been to one of these before, you might have missed it for some reason, or you just want to do a refresher, then by all means, these are free. You can sign up at any time for these. So if you say, well, I haven't actually done that one, or it's been years since I did it, I wouldn't mind a refresher, then just touch base with Richard and we'll book you in, because we'd love to see more people participating in those and getting the most out of them. We have scheduled for the year to create an online education marketplace. And this is where members can basically list education that they would like to do. We have had a few technical issues with how that works. I would have liked to have seen that released with the new website, but we weren't happy that the technical solution was going to be really easy to use for our members. So we've gone back to the drawing board to fix a few of those, but we should have a solution to that very shortly. And I would probably see that at the start of Q4 of this calendar year, that'll roll out. So this is where our members will be able to list whatever courses and workshops they would like, whether it's for free or whether it's a paid version, to offer to not just members, but the general business community. And you'll be able to list that on our marketplace on the website. So stand by for that. It'll probably be a little bit later this year whilst we navigate some tech issues. Meet members, I've already mentioned. We're just working on the multimedia stream to allow us to showcase the members and their stories and expertise, and that'll be coming out in a few months' time as well. So again, these are new features we've never done before. Part of our process of improving our technology and systems is to enable more of these functions and features to be available to our members, so that it provides them opportunities to get greater visibility and promote themselves. So our systems and technology, I've touched on that a little bit. Our biggest focus has really been at the start of this year getting a new website live. And if you've ever put a website live, you'll know just how tricky that can be. It is a can of worms every time you start something. And Sonia Palich, the previous chair, and I actually started this process probably 12 months ago, reviewing all of the content on the website and making decisions. And as we have evolved the strategies of the chamber, we had to make some changes to that. So I'm really happy to say that that got released a couple of months ago. That's functioning really well. It looks fantastic. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll keep tinkering with and adding to, as I mentioned, some of those new features. So we're in phase 1 of that. So phase 1 was to get a new, fresh looking website with its existing operations and a few extra functions and benefits attached to it, like our social media opportunity there for the packages for our members live. We've done that. Phase 2 is now about implementing all of the other new functions and features we wanted to have available this year. So that'll probably take us through to about the end of this year. And then whilst that's happening, Phil and his team are working very hard on scoping out the last of the changes, which is where we replace our existing member management database with a completely different system, which enables any functionality we could possibly want for the future, as well as now anything we're limited by. So the scoping process and development of that is quite a decent job, and will take us probably about 6 months to get to the point where we've got something ready to go live to do the last phase. So what does that mean for you as members? It just means we're working on making sure that all of our systems and technology are going to provide benefits and opportunity to our members to get the most out of being a part of our chamber experience. A little bit of information on some of the working groups. So our working group for expanding our women in business activities beyond just our 2 lunches that we have a year is well underway. We've got 5 people who have put their hand up and are actively working with me as a working group on lots of different ideas. Some of the things which we've been discussing is the opportunity for a mentoring program and a buddy system for women leaders and business owners who come on board and participate in our events, because it can be quite a daunting experience, especially if they're not used to networking, to show up to any of our bigger activities. We'll still be doing our 2 lunches a year. I'm right currently in the middle of pivoting our September Women in Business lunch to move it to be a mini conference for women in business. So I'll be touching base with our events team on that today, and we'll release some information about that shortly. and that will be chaired by our previous chair, Sonia Palich, which I'm looking forward to having her do that and get her involved. And then we're looking at really a whole bunch of new connection opportunities beyond just the lunches to look at ways we can engage more with women or women lead, either as business owners or leaders in their businesses and the bigger corporates, to be able to interconnect with each other on a more regular basis than just at our big lunches each year. So I had a few other people who've put their hand up, so I'd love to be involved or help out. If that's you, we still want to hear from you, so please touch base with me. And probably the number one thing that I've spent my time doing over the last month is really around advocacy. Because of the issues we're all facing with COVID, the biggest challenge, of course, that we're all aware of is the lack of concrete and clear information being supplied through announcements on a daily basis. I personally don't sit there and listen to the 11 o'clock call that, or the video, but what I have been doing is having conversations with ministers about what is happening, what they are doing, and how they're communicating that. We're also working very closely with the Chamber Alliance of Western Sydney, which includes, I think, 12 or 13 chambers across Western Sydney, the chairs of which are all in regular communication, discussing what's happening for their members, collecting interviews and case studies of examples of businesses that are falling through the cracks or just don't fit the standard information being put out or the standard packages and stimuluses available, so that we can bring them to the attention of the decision makers who are actually creating these programs, to make them aware of what's not working and what is working as well. So that will continue on. The reality is that over the next few months and probably the next year, advocating for our members and for our general business community will be a very big part of what we do and what we should be doing as a chamber. And thankfully, we are getting the ear of the ministers who are supporting us by having those conversations and trying to provide clarity. So I've had quite a number of interviews, and we've submitted a report to the Deputy Premier's office this week, and I had a conversation with his Chief of Staff and one of his policy advisors around really some issues around their communication and what they're not communicating to us as businesses, and what we need to be hearing from them to have confidence in them and the decisions they're making, as well as some of the issues that are not being addressed that need to be. So I really appreciate any business who has given me their time to share their story right now. Some of it's really, really bad. And, I've had conversations with people that I've had serious concerns for their mental health and well-being and where they're at right now. I know Richard's been having very similar conversations. So my number one encouragement to you as a business owner or a business leader, if you are struggling or you just need to be able to share what the challenge is, and hope that, that may be heard, not just by us, but then also by people making decisions, please book in some time with myself or Richard, and we would be happy to do that with you, collect that information and forward it on to some of the decision makers within the government departments so that they're aware of what's happening. We obviously can't promise any results, but we can certainly try to help, and that's our job. You'll notice we're not sending out lots of surveys and things like that this year, and there's a reason for that, because we made a decision at the start of the year that all of our surveying processes to understand what's happening in the chamber and to collect data will happen organically. So you'll see we use Slido in all of our events to capture information about different topics and your thoughts on things. You'll see that within your MyBoard groups, each of your MyBoard leaders are actually capturing information about what type of things are being discussed, not specifics. Obviously, we want to protect people's privacy, that they can have conversations without feeling like it's recorded, but more what are some of the key issues that businesses are discussing or facing or of interest to them, so that we're able to understand what it is that you're motivated or concerned by, to be able to help deliver good services for you. So if you do have any questions around our Amplify pillar, our advocacy, we'd really love to hear from you around that. And just further to that, next Monday at 10 a.m, there is a Zoom Q&A session with our local minister for Castle Hill, or for Baulkham Hills, I should say, and that's the Honourable David Elliott. He will be doing an open Q&A with anybody who wishes to attend from our membership. I think we've got about 23 people already booked in for that. So there's still plenty of opportunity. I think we've got 50 as a cap for that event. So if you haven't booked in, and you can make that 10 a.m. and you just either want to listen in or you want to ask questions of the minister, that's a chance for you to do so directly with him. And there is a further opportunity on the 13th, this Friday, where we're working in collaboration with a number of other business chambers to run a Q&A session and a conference session with the Services New South Wales Minister, which is Victor Dominello, and the Small Business Minister, which is Damien Tudor-Hope. So if you wanted to dial in for that one, it's actually going live by Facebook through the Canterbury Bankstown Chamber of Commerce, and you'll see just at the bottom of that page is the Facebook link. So if you look up the CBC or the cbchamber.org.au, there's some information about that. Dial in for the Facebook Live for them as well, but we'll be collaborating and participating in that too. I just want to touch on something which, we haven't, really talked about a lot so far this year, but that's around our leadership development strategy. And Dave Ferris, who's our Deputy Chairman, can't be at today's meeting, but has been working across the portfolios to look at ways that we can grow great business leaders. And I have touched on, the fact that we are looking at mentoring programs, and we'll probably look at developing these later this year or early next year. The main reason for that is because of COVID changes, we've had to focus our attention over this quarter on just pivoting and doing a bunch of things which we hoped we didn't have to spend time doing. But later in the year, in October, we have our leadership lunch that is scheduled in, and it will go ahead. It may be a hybrid format. We're just going to have to see where we're at in September to decide what's the best way to run it. But we've got some really great speakers for that lunch, which we expect to be sold out. And that includes Lee Hatton, the CEO of Afterpay, and a number of other great speakers. So that will go live very shortly, but that's all about influential business leadership and how we can grow in our business community great leaders in business. And you'll be able to learn a lot of fantastic tips and tricks from leaders in both corporate and SME businesses at that event. So look out for that one in early October. That's really it as an update. I know there was a lot of information that we've covered, but hopefully it's giving you a bit of idea of what we've been working on. But despite the circumstances, we're still moving forward and doing what we wanted to do this year as an organisation. And hopefully that's going to deliver some great results for you. So I just want to open it to anyone who might have any questions that they'd like to raise. All you need to do is just pop yourself off mute.
No questions, Kerry. I'd just like to say thanks to the board and all the work and effort that you guys put in for us members, and to Richard, it's really appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, well said, Bill.
Was there anything anyone had questions about in any of the programs or activities that they wanted just a bit of clarity on at this point?
No, I think you guys are doing a great job under the circumstances. So no, well done, guys. And yeah, good work.
Thanks. All right. Well, I'm going to take it that we've done such a good job explaining what we've been doing that you don't need any clarification at this point. But if you do post this meeting, or there's something that you see coming, through from our communications that you do have questions about, we're always open to answering those questions. So you can either drop us a line at membership at, or support at, or chairman at sydneyhillsbusiness.com.au, or use the website to put a query in, or pick up the phone to us. We're all volunteers, but we're also all available to be able to try and support you as you go along. There's some really good opportunities to connect and to network and to build relationships that can help grow your business over the next month or two. So even if you're a little bit zoomed out, we will make it fun, we will make it engaging, we'll make it valuable. So make sure you have registered yourself for all of our events and activities as a part of your schedule for the next couple of months. And most importantly, stay connected. Isolation is one of the biggest issues that individuals and business owners face right now, which is very hard to then motivate yourself when you're isolating yourself. So don't be alone, be part of your business community, and we'd love to see you there. And I really want to thank you all for taking the time to participate in today's general meeting and to be here to hear what we've been talking about. As I said, a copy of this will actually be posted on our YouTube channel in a couple of weeks' time. So if there's anything you just want to go over again or share with someone else, you'll be able to find it there, and we'll share that out. So I just want to thank you all, and we'll close today's meeting.